class is that we go through the material as a kind of anthropological endeavor, but then there will be a personal element in which you will have to create your own story. You will. By the way, Lainey has provided you with an outstanding workbook. Has anyone taken a look at that thing? Isn't it so beautiful? I mean, you don't want to even write in it. It's so beautiful. But I think you should print it out and put it in a binder or feed it into a journal so that every other page you can be inspired by that imagery. The way that I want to do this is as a way. I also have to disclose, and I've done this before, that I wasn't raised reading, and so I missed out on a lot of the myths and the legends and the lores that maybe you grew up with. I only started digesting them when I could actually see them visually. So I don't have like a history of a good reading habit. But like when The Matrix hit, it moved me, and Star Wars, only the original, not the disaster of the... They really resonated for me. And the reason that it's resonating is because in our collective unconscious, we all have a nascent hero that is asking these existential questions and is hungry to understand on an epic or cosmic or astrological or mythic dimension, who am I, where do I come from, and where am I going? And then because of the force of where the planet is for so long, we've kind of been lulled to sleep, so that each of you find yourselves probably in some form or another at a dead-end job at a cubicle, like doing this with your chewing gum and tapping your finger and like scrolling. And like the energy is really, the bandwidth is really, low. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. So part of the course has to be interactive. What I want to do is it would be really creative if actually you got involved and people on live stream got involved and used Facebook or different chats. But I think everybody should nominate themselves to study at least one myth. And that can go all the way back to the ancient classics. You can look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example. You can look at the Fisher King and the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. You can look at Homer's Odyssey or its Iliad. You can flash forward and pick something more contemporary, like The Matrix or Star Wars. Although I don't want all of us to do The Matrix because it makes for a much more rich experience. If, number one, you resonate towards looking at something, so that when we go through the stages, we can have a diverse cross-section of people sharing what the relevant stage is across different epics. Does it make sense? So I'll say, like, crossing the threshold, and I will say when Frodo lifts his leg and is leaving the Shire, and what it took for him to get there. And then you'll say... Who's got one? A crossing the threshold moment. Anybody? Star Wars. What's the crossing the threshold moment in Star Wars? Well, Luke leaves Alderaan. Huh? Is it? Tatooine? Yes, you're right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. And so what's really interesting is, what are the causes and conditions that were holding him back, Luke, and then how did he overcome it? And as we get very specific about that, what is happening is your own deep psyche is registering that. And it's on a very, see, this is the leap here, okay? Are you with me? Geshe Tenzin Zopa's definition or translation of the word meditation, gom in Tibetan, is to familiarize the mind. That which you put in front of the mind absorbs and becomes like that. And so, for example, you are goming a medicine Buddha when you visualize yourself or you visualize the medicine Buddha in front of you, giving your mind a vibrational setting that aligns with the medicine Buddha so that you can feel that vibration, calling it out of the depths of your own psyche, pulling it like through a magnet. Consciousness is magnetizing a frequency inside of you by way of the land bridge of the architecture or of the imagery of the tanka, of the medicine Buddha, using your three-dimensional mind. And so that is meditation. That's what meditation is. And I think if you meditate on Luke Skywalker or Frodo Baggins or Alice, making certain maneuvers in the trajectory of their story, and you really focus on it, you really meditate on it, and then you yoke your mind with it, you say, this is what I need to do as a human being, this is what I need to do, I need to cross that fucking threshold, then the likelihood is that you will cross that threshold. So this is a multi-dimensional task then. Together as a collective, you will be reading your own epic. We will together be studying the various stages and going through the various stages, so that's where we will all link up. But then some very deep shadow personal work will be happening for you as you create your own narrative in your workbook, find out what your ordeal is, find out what the demon is. Maybe you're in another segment of the circle. It's interesting today, and there are no synchronicities. Am I jumping around too much, or are you with me? You're good? There are no synchronicities. So a client came in today, never met him before. He was very insistent, and his email compelled me. I usually don't do that when I'm like, especially today is class day. I didn't have really the time, but I snuck him in. Don't know why, but here it is. Kat is writing his own book on the hero's journey. The day that we're launching this class. Okay, and this is and then he's writing it, and so I'm asking him, because it's in my consciousness, I'm asking him, so in your personal life, where on the trajectory of the hero's journey are you? And he actually says to me, he's like, oh, that's a great question. I'd need to see the 12 stages. And I said, well, by the way. And this cat was like, what? What? So boom, one click of the button, and there's Lainey's presentation in preparation for this. And we're looking at the monomyth, and he's like, I think I'm at tests, enemies, and allies. And so the rest of the session is on building out awareness around the variables or factors that are latent or keep him stuck in that, prevent him from moving forward into the next realm. And so if you look at the archetype of the architecture of the monomyth, it's almost like an orienting compass of where, it's like a personal compass. Where are you? Who are you? And where are you going? There cannot be something more salient to the human psyche than those three questions. Now, you can answer them in the stars if you're an astrologer. You can get on a table and Lena can put her hands on you and you can find the answers that way. I do believe that sensitive psychotherapists who you are keenly in tuned and use intuition can also answer this question. I do believe that a shaman or what are they called? A divination, an oracle can tell you it by that way. And I do think that we can each learn a little bit of how to use Joseph Campbell's monomyth for our own advantage to help orient us to our own hero's journey. Now, I won't do this but once. The hero's journey obviously can be substituted for the heroine's journey. Sometimes I just use heroic so that we don't, we can just all feel comfortable about heroic. But if I slip or I forget in advance, I apologize.